Здравейте! Вие гледате Абсолютно свободно. Аз съм Петър Волгин. В днешното предаване ще говоря с един много интересен гост. Това е моя колега от нашата група Европа на суверенните нации, генерал Роберто Ванначи. Той е председател на съвсем новата партия в Италия, Национално бъдеще, Футуро Национале. Преди да стане политик, той беше много успешен военен командир. 37 години беше в италианската армия. Участвал в военни операции в Руанда, Йемен, в Босна и Херцеговина. По-късно командваше специални операции в Ирак, Афганистан, Либия и беше и също така военен аташе в руското посолство, в италианското посолство в Москва и беше обявен за персона нон грата, след като, знаете, Европейския съюз прекъсна отношенията си с Русия. Всъщност генерал Ванначи стана абсолютно известен в Италия, след като издаде своята книга "Светът надолу с главата" през 2023 година. Продаде стотици милиони копия, имаше страшно много дебати върху тази книга, включително от армията го суспендираха за 11 месеца. Защото казаха, изводите в тази книга не съвпадат с това, което ние мислим, което е официалната позиция. Година по-късно генерал Ванначи беше избран за евродепутат от листата на партия Лигата и с най-много преференции. 500 000 души гласуваха преференциално за него. В началото на тази година генерал Роберто Ванначи напусна партията Лигата и създаде своя собствена партия Национално бъдеще, Футуро Национале, което сега върви много добре в социологическите проучвания. Welcome, General Vannacci.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. And I know that now you are one of the most popular politicians in Italy. Pundits, journalists, your colleagues, politicians talk all the time about you. And your party, Futuro Nazionale, is doing very well in the polls. Somebody says 5%, some says 6%, 7%. And it's a great success for an absolutely new party. What is your explanation of that success?
Yes, you're right. Every newspaper in Italy is talking about us, about me, and about Futuro Nazionale. And because this is something new that is happening in the Italian politics in the last 15 years. This is a new party that was born just 2 weeks ago, because we had our first assembly just 2 weeks ago, and is already at almost between 6 and 7%, according to the polls.
I even saw 10%.
Yeah, someone is talking about 10%, but I prefer to refer to the most popular polls. And I have to say that according to what I see in the middle of the street or when I'm traveling, my polls are even different, because I see a great consent between young people, between Italians, between citizens that are coming to me and shaking my hands and telling me, please continue to do what you have been doing so far, because we rely on you. We need some changes in the Italian politics. And I think that's why we have this great success. We have had since so far this great success, because the Italian citizens are not happy on what happened in the last 3-4 years. They are not happy with the European Union, with the politics that the European Union has implemented in the last decades.
You say that Futuro Nazionale is the real right. And now the Italian people, Italia is governed by a coalition of right-wing parties, center-right, three right-wing parties. So does it mean that you don't think about them, that they are really right-wing parties?
Well, I talked about the authentic right, talking about my party, because that's true. In Italy, we have a center-right government made of an alliance of 3 parties. But in the reality, what happened is that the center-right government has diluted himself. So has taken some positions that are more forward the center and the left, supporting this European Commission.
Could you be more specific on that?
Yes, sure. For example, they are supporting this European Commission. They are supporting the president of this European Commission, and supporting them, they are supporting, for example, the Green Deal. They are supporting unconditional support to Ukraine. And I'm not saying that we should not support Ukraine, but this strategy has led to a big failure, because we have been fighting this war since 4 years ago, but the solution is not ready to happen. So we need to change our strategy if we want to have a solution in the war between Russia and Ukraine. And just a pragmatic politics is able to forecast and to see a solution to this war. We need to look for a negotiating peace between these two countries, because the consequence of this war are paid especially by European countries and by Italy. For example, we pay in Europe, the price of the energy is the highest compared to all the industrialized area in the world. And this is a problem for our economy, for our competitiveness, for our capability of producing goods and richness. So we need to find a solution. We cannot continue to do the same thing. You know, Einstein was saying that crazy is continuing to do the same thing, expecting different results. If we want different results, we need to change our strategy.
And what is the biggest difference between Futuro Nazionale and these center right-wing parties that govern Italy nowadays?
Well, what I'm saying is that we have some specific principles and specific ideals, and we want to be coherent with these principles and ideas. We want to support national interest and to fight for national interest even here in the European Union, in the European Parliament. The center-right coalition started with saying the same things, but then lost in the middle of the sea. They lost the bearing, and now they are supporting politics that are not supporting the national interest, from my point of view. And that's why the Italian citizens are so attracted by Futuro Nazionale.
Of course, we may criticize Giorgia Meloni and her government a lot, but we have to admit that it is the longest government that governed Italy, and it will be the longest government in September, I think. It will be the longest government after the Second World War. Does it mean that the most of Italian people like this kind of government?
Well, no.
And they support it?
I don't have a negative how could I say, perspective of this government. But we can do better. That's my point. We can do much better. So even though this government had some successes, we can do much better in many fields of our society. We can do much better in the immigration sector. We can do much better in the economic sector. We can do much better in the energy sector. That's why I'm pushing to have a different approach to this politics. So we have a major problems in internal security in Italy. We have criminal events every day, and these criminal events are responsibility very often of an unregulated immigration, of some rules that need to be changed, and we are not changing them. We have the problem of the energy. So if we don't open to all the countries that can sell us energy at a lower price, and Russia, for example, it's one of these countries, we will not fix the problem in the next years. And this is very, very impacting our economy and our capability to be competitive with the other countries in the world. And we are a manufacturing country. We are exporting lots of our goods. If we are not competitive, we are losing our possibility to produce benefits for our people. So that's why I'm saying that we can do much better.
We are going to continue to talk about politics, but now I would like to talk about your first book, because it was a great success, really, Il Mondo al Contrario, and it has a very big consequences for you personally.
Yeah.
You were suspended from the army,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
actually it was the beginning of your political career.
Yeah.
What is your explanation of the success of this book?
Well, the major explanation is consisting on the attacks that I received from newspaper, left-hand newspaper, and from personalities against me and against what I wrote. The book is a common sense book when I'm reproposing some items I believe in, but nothing extraordinary. But I was so strongly attacked that at the end of the day, the normal citizens were very curious on reading the book. What is it about? What does he did he write so strange that this book is so attacked? And lots of them read the book, and at the end of the day, they decided to say, "But he's right. He's saying something that is common sense." So I started to be invited by TV channels, by journalists to release interviews, and more Italian people were starting to think that I was right. So this opened me the doors for my political life, and I was firstly taken by the Lega as an independent candidate at the European elections, and I was the most voted Italian parliamentarian at the European Parliament.
500,000 votes.
Yes, 500, more than 500,000 votes.
500,000 votes, yes.
Yeah.
And after that, you became disappointed by Lega, or by La Lega, or by Mateo Salvini.
Well, no, it was a problem with the party, not with the leader, because what I was criticizing is the coherence. Mm-hmm. So when I was in Lega and I was here in the Patriots, we were voting here in Europe, for example, against the program of Rearm Europe and against the unconditional support to Ukraine. But then in Italy, Lega was voting for the decree giving weapons to Ukraine. We have always supported the concept of natural family, the family composed by a man, a woman, and the kids. But then in Italy, Lega was inviting to his party meetings representative of LGBTQ categories and having an approach totally different from the promoting of the natural family. And we, as a Lega, we were proud to be sovereign, to be a sovereignist party. But then when we had the attack from the United States and Israel to Iran, Lega was applauding to Trump behavior, but instead it was against national interest, this attack, because it has as a consequence an energy crisis that was involving all Europe and Italy and imposed us a price of the energy much higher than what we were paying before. So because of the coherence with the party, I decided to leave the party and to create my own party.
Let's talk about future now, about your political future, because some people say that you will be Minister of Defense in a coalition government. I think that it will not be enough for you. I think that you would like to be a Prime Minister, right?
Well, so far, I'm already the president of my party and a member of the European Parliament. Is quite enough.
But your
from my point of view.
future plans?
In the future, because I am coherent, I want to stay here in the European Parliament until the end of the legislature.
Because elections in Italy are next year.
2027, yes. And we will see what happens in the next elections. And then we will see if I can run as a Prime Minister, for example. This would be a fantastic goal to reach, even though I know perfectly that it's very difficult. But we need to be ambitious in our life. We need to have very, very ambitious objectives. We will see.
As a Prime Minister, tell me, what will be your first steps in office?
So I think that the first two priorities we have in Italy is, first of all, immigration and security, which are strictly linked. And secondly, from an economical point of view, to totally leave the Green Deal pact or whatever it is called, and to restart again to produce our richness and our economy without taking in account this incredible idea of the Green Deal. These are the two major problems we are suffering. And I think that modifying this approach to these problems, we can fix a lot of other problems that we have from an economical and industrial point of view.
Could you be more specific about re-immigration?
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of talk about it, also in other countries, like in Germany. What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, remigration from a political point of view is the right of all the peoples to defend his own culture and civilizations. And how do you implement this right? You implement it through culture, through education, but also through not allowing external groups to get inside your country and to impose different cultures and civilization in your country. So you need to limit to a certain percentage this external group to be in your country. And you need to ask them, if they come to your country, to be assimilated in your culture and your civilization. It doesn't mean that you need to reject people who are willing, who are keen to come to your country to work. But becoming a worker in your country doesn't mean that you are gonna become a member of your population. So you can work for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and then you go back to your country. So this is a way of preserving and promoting the civilization and the culture of a specific people, and we need very simple rules to implement it. Mm-hmm. I can mention to you two countries that were very, very successful in remigration concept. First is Australia. Mm-hmm. You remember in 2013, I think they implemented the strategy, you are not going to make Australia your home. Mm-hmm. And they were very effective in achieving the goals that they were planning. And the second country is Japan. Japan is very effective. You can go in Japan only if you have a visa in your passport. If not, you cannot go to Japan. So it's something that we can realize also in Europe. And we are struggling to realize it. We have done some little steps, but we need to work a lot to reach the goals of, preserving our culture and our civilization.
Giorgia Meloni has made plans about these so-called third countries to put there the migrants. Is it a good idea?
It's a very good idea. And in Europe, with the new Pact on Migration, we had the same approach with the idea of having third country that can accept the illegal migrants that came to Europe, and they need to be rejected. They need to be expulsed to Europe. So it's a strategy, it's a tactic that we can use, having bilateral agreements with third countries and having the possibility to expel these clandestine people to the third country, and then from this third country to be repatriated in their origin country. Mm-hmm. It's something that we can do collectively in Europe, and we can have, a very big synergy among the countries that have these immigration problems. I think that almost all the countries in the European Union have immigration problems. Okay.
General Vannacci, you are a very successful military man, very successful commander, and now you're a successful politician. So sometimes I think about what is your role model? Is it Julius Caesar or Napoleon, because they were soldiers, after that politicians? Sure. Dwight Eisenhower?
Yeah. Well, I would not say that I am imitating someone, but
not imitating.
I'm very, I'm very fond of. For example, you mentioned Caesar regarding the ancient history, but even Napoleon, De Gaulle, for example, Dwight Eisenhower, Winston Churchill. He was a military.
Si.
So these are very successful militaries that, in a second step of their life, they were politicians, and they did their job very, very well. So why not?
Who is your favorite from all these persons?
Oh, I think I would choose Caesar.
Caesar.
Or Winston Churchill. Yeah, these are good figures, but why not de Gaulle?
Yeah,
why
sure.
not de Gaulle?
What about Tommaso Marinetti? Because he was the founder of futurist movement in the beginning of 20th century, and your party is called Futuro Nazionale, and you called yourself a futurist.
Yeah.
And what are the similarities between you and this futurist movement a long time ago?
Well, when I chose the name of the party, I was inspired by the futurist movement that started at the beginning of the 20th century and was led by Tommaso Marinetti. We like dynamism, we like speed, we like the elegance, we like the movement, and that's the principle that inspired the futurist movement at the beginning of the 20th century.
So there is a direct line between them and you.
We would like to imitate them.
And also I have read a comparison between you and your party and Beppe Grillo and his Movimento 5 Stelle, because both of you came from outside the politics. He came from show business, you from the military, and you both are very critical towards political elites, towards la casta. What do you think of these comparisons?
Well, I think that it's true. We both are outsiders. We don't have almost anything else in common. But what I am promoting is the real politics. So the politics that is not attracted by the power or by the positions, but is attracted by serving the citizens and the people. So living in the middle of the people and trying to serve them, promoting their interest. And I think that's what is distinguish Futuro Nazionale from the other parties. Probably because Futuro Nazionale is not yet inside the room of the powers, but is living and is growing in the middle of the Italian citizens.
Are there any guarantees that you will not repeat these steps by the other parties, that when they are in opposition, they are very critical towards government and they propose good ideas, but after entering the power, they change. Some of them change in a very big way. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the guarantee is the coherence. So we try to be coherent with our principles and ideals, and we will not leave them. This is what I tell to the people when I talk to them. And the other guarantee is the fact that I'm not a politician. So I come from outside.
You are now.
Now I'm a politician, but I don't have a politician background. So probably this is the difference between me and the other politicians. I'm not attracted by the power. My goal is to give to my daughter a better world than we have today. So that's why probably we are different from the others.
One of the main critical points towards you is that you don't support Ukraine, and I remember in an interview you have said that you would live rather under Vladimir Putin's rule than under Volodymyr Zelensky's rule. And what is your answer to that criticism?
No, it was different. They asked me, would you prefer Putin or Zelensky? And I said, I would prefer Putin, because Putin has 25 years of politics behind him, and he took the power in Russia around the year 2000. And if you see all the indicators of Russia from 2000 to now, they were all growing: security, economics, the broad internal product. So everything was growing. So I think that he made a great job in Russia to improve the condition in Russia. And we cannot say the same thing about Zelensky. So
and your
that
critics
was my
labeled you as a pro-Russian politician.
No, I'm not a pro-Russian. I'm pro-Italian. That's the difference. And being pro-Italian led me to say that we need to end this war between Russia and Ukraine.
Okay, I think that there was a hope that Russian-American understanding could bring the end to this war. But now I think that this hope has died. And I'm asking you as a soldier and as a politician now, how and when this war could end?
Well, in my opinion, it's not going to end in the next months because the most powerful enemy of the peace is the European Union.
Mm-hmm.
That's
why? Why?
Well, because I think they don't. The first reason is because if we have a peace now, we will see a lot of European leaders falling down because they have supported since the beginning the unconditioned support to Ukraine, even though this support was not justified. And we would see, for example, Ursula von der Leyen falling down. We would see Macron falling down. Starmer already fell down. So that's the main. We would see also Merz probably falling down. So that's the main problem, the main reason why they are not advocating for a peace treaty between Russia and Ukraine. But as I told you, the situation is not going to change. Russian army is very slowly but continuing to advance in the Ukrainian territory. And if we don't have major changes in the strategy and tactics, the situation will remain the same.
Because now some people say with all these drone attacks toward refineries, Ukraine is winning the war.
No, this is something that the narrative of the newspaper are telling us, but the situation on the ground is totally different. Russian army is continuing to slowly advancing on Ukrainian territory. And we have already seen in other conflicts, Russians are not giving up. And the indicators that we have, in my opinion, we'll see the situation worsening and worsening in the next weeks and months. So that's why I'm saying that a peace that we can reach today will cost to Ukraine and to Europe a lot, but will cost less than a peace that we will join next year or in 2 years or in 3 years. That's why we should work for this peace, this negotiating peace today, not losing even a day.
And wrapping this conversation, next year are the elections, parliamentary elections in Italy. You are going to take
We are
part.
going to run. We're going to run.
You are going. Do you think that Futuro Nazionale could win these elections?
Well, I think that Futuro Nazionale can take a lot of votes, and probably we can have more than 10%, and we will be very influent with regards to the new government and to the new politics in Italy. That's what I expect. I don't think we will grow until 30%, 40%, but I'm very positive regarding the attitude of the Italian people to Futuro Nazionale, and my ambition is to reach a percentage more than 10%.
Wish you success, General Vannacci.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
so
much, and thank you for the opportunity.